December 29th, as far as you know, okay? It might actually be December 29th. All right, here we go. Got some nice nat sound.
0.02% of the Daily Tech News Show were brought to you by me. If you would like to decrease my already meager equity, go to dailytechnewsshow.com/support.
This is the Daily Tech News Show for Tuesday, December 29th, 2015. I'm Tom Merritt, and I'm not actually here. It's the holidays. I'm off gallivanting about. I hope you are too. But we pre-recorded some excellent episodes for you, and this is one of them. I've been doing this on the Buzz Out Loud days and the Tech News Today days, where we bring in folks from our audience to talk to us and let us know what they use tech for and why they're interested in technology. Starting from, I don't know if it's right to left, but it's the bottom of my dock. Jeffrey Beard is with us. Jeffrey, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to talk to each of them in depth in a little bit. We also have a husband and wife. Very happy that Dave and Tammy McLean have joined us. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having us, Tom.
And extra special thanks to Dave for talking Tammy into being on here. Thank you, Tammy.
You're welcome, Tom.
And then joining us from the road, he's out being Santa Claus right now, is Sakani. Sakani, thank you for joining us as well.
Thank you for having me on here. It's a pleasure.
It is really nice of you to pull over to the side of the road, give us a nice view of some palm trees, and take some time out of what I can tell is an extremely busy day. It's a busy time for you guys. So let's start with you, because I know you got to get back on the road. First of all, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, as you can see, I'm a FedEx driver by day. But at night, I also moonlight for a company called Uber, which has made many, many headlines in the past year. So I think it's been an interesting experience driving for one company and the other, largely because they both share, believe it or not, they both share the same sort of independent contract relationship, just in different ways.
Interesting. So Jenny Josephson, our producer, is with us along here too, and we've both been happy to have some contributions from you on topics like that over the years, and that is interesting that we talk about the contractor relationship with Uber and the contractor economy. That's not actually a new thing necessarily, right, Sakani?
No, it's not. I have been an independent contractor for FedEx Ground for going on 11 years now. The only difference to it is some of the concerns over the independent contractor or the gig economy have been how much control that the company contracting out exerts over its independent operators.
Right. So, for instance, with Uber, do you provide your own car? I know some do, some don't.
Yeah, I provide my own vehicle. I pay for my own insurance, my own gas, my own car washes. Everything comes out of my pocket. Basically, I use my own phone.
I'm assuming you don't have your own delivery truck, though.
Actually, I used to, believe it or not.
No kidding.
I actually, I won't show it to you now unless you really want to see it, but I actually did used to own my own delivery truck. I sold it later on because I did not want to be, it was just too much of a hassle.
That's cool. So I mean, obviously when we talk about these driving services, the ride sharing economy, it interests you because you're living it, right? What other topics are of interest to you?
Well, so I know you guys don't cover gaming much, but there is that. I'm also interested in security and social networking and the way that, say, the smartphone has changed the way we communicate with each other. You know, being an old man that I am, yeah, well, I know, good genes. But I was raised in a world, I went to high school and no one had a cell phone. I mean, I was in my senior year before I saw a web browser for the first time. Now, compare that to today where people are growing up with Facebook and Instagram and everything else at their fingertips. It's just the way that we all communicate with each other has changed so much that I am not sure if it's a benefit or a detriment to our society.
Well, I would say
I would say since you're standing at the side of the road talking to us live on your mobile phone, it's a benefit. I'm going right there with it. I mean, it's just, to me, it's always amazing how much this technology has progressed. I didn't have email until college. I didn't have email, and now here you are in one place with palm trees behind you, and here we all are in 4 others, and we're all talking live. I love it.
Yeah, there was no such thing as a web browser yet when I was in college, Sakani. So
I believe that.
No, but it is. It's amazing, and you're right. There are good and bad things about it. What are some of the things that are most top of mind to you when you think about communications?
Just the way that we communicate more often. I believe that the internet has brought to us a way to communicate without the face-to-face interaction. And so you don't have the nonverbal cues of body language that lets us know how our messages are being received.
Yeah, not all the time, right?
Or our intended to be received. Yeah. And I think a lot of that, there's also the aspect of, say, hey, look, this person is not really here, and so we tend to act in a sort of way as to they don't really exist, they're not real. And as such, I think communication has gotten a lot more blunt, for better or for worse, but at the same time a bit more hostile and more argumentative. I mean, we can express ourselves in different ways and perhaps better ways. I think I'm actually better at expressing myself in the written word. But at the same time, there seems to be a disconnect between, what I say is just going to be read or heard by a person and not just some random people on the other side of a computer screen somewhere.
Do you think we're getting better at that, though? Do you think we're learning as we have these little blow-ups on the internet and these flame wars and things like that? Do you think that we're actually figuring out how to better use that kind of tool?
I want to say yes. I find that the empathy necessary for a lot of good personal interaction is still in many ways. And oh wow, okay.
You're right.
There's a big rig backing up about 5 feet from me. I need to move out of the way.
All right, man. Well, you go ahead and do what you need to do. And if you jump back in, just let us know. That's great. Thank you for the time that you had, though, Sakani. We really appreciate it.
All right, no problem. I will be in the audio if you need me.
All right,
awesome.
sounds good.
All right, thank you very much. A pleasure, Jenny. A pleasure, Tom.
A pleasure to you, Sakani. And thanks for all the contributions and emails, man. It's awesome. All right, so let's turn to Dave and Tammy. You guys are not in a truck, as far as I can tell, which is good. And big thanks to Sakani for doing that in the middle of his workday like that. But you guys are a husband and wife, and you watch DTNS in the mornings. Is that right?
I do. We don't use really regular television at all. Is my mic picking me up okay?
Yeah, we're doing great.
Oh, okay. So I can watch your program, whenever I choose to, and that seems to be in the morning, which that's much different than traditional television, to be able to just do that, grab a program. And
I think that a lot of people know that there are folks out there who don't watch traditional television and watch the internet, and they generally think they're all 18-year-olds and watching it on their phones. So, why is it that you guys prefer to watch things that way?
Well, we got cable internet here at our house. Our town has a telephone company that's kind of an incumbent internet service, and their service was terrible. And I found out that Charter offered television, cable TV, and internet service in our town, so we tried that out. And after a couple months, we just dropped television because we really didn't watch it.
Yeah, we probably turned it on 5 times during the course of the 2 months we had it.
And so what do you guys watch on the internet then?
We watch some stuff on Leo Laporte's network. We watch Netflix. We have Amazon Prime. And I use the YouTube app quite a bit. We use a Roku in our home theater to watch that kind of stuff. And it's pretty handy. I think DTNS needs an app.
We're getting there.
We've got an app on Apple TV, thanks to one listener. So yeah, it'd be great to put together one for the Roku. Although there is the DiamondClub.tv app, for Roku, and I think Alpha Geek Media keeps us
Yes.
on in video
Through
now
TuneIn.
as well as audio.
Yeah, and
Okay, I
if you
haven't
go
tried
through,
that one.
if you go on the Roku app through TuneIn, that app, you can get to the Alpha Geek part of it. I've done that, and it works. It's a couple like extra steps, but it's really great. And then there is an Alpha Geek Media app just for Roku too.
Yeah, because I helped Todd do some testing on that when he was putting it together. So if you go to alphageekradio.com, click on Watch or Listen Live, it'll show you all the different ways that you can use to watch the show.
Okay,
Or
good.
how to tune in. I'm sorry, how to tune in is the page that he has now for all of that.
Okay,
I see we
'cause-
have do you see this, Tom? We have a new joiner on the listener co-host show.
Okay, that's hilarious. So
This is
your
Jade.
cat just ran in at the same time as my dog Sawyer came running over. It's
I
like
know.
you could smell the cat through the hangout.
They have a way, don't they?
What's your cat's name?
Jade.
Oh.
Jade?
Yes. She
Nice.
has
So-
green eyes.
Well, now we got
cute.
a whole family now, all three of you on there.
That's true. Then there's another cat in here, Henry. He'll probably be in here in a minute too. But no,
Oh, come on.
I'm trying to think. I got a Roku when that first came out, and that's really kind of how I started going in that direction with television. And like I said, originally it was strictly Netflix, and then they started adding some different apps and things like that. And I've done some beta testing even on some of their boxes. And I don't know. I've told some other friends about that have also tried that because Dish and things like that can get really expensive.
Yeah.
Especially if you're only using it for a couple of programs. And we've really been able to find plenty to watch.
Yeah, it depends on what your consumption patterns are. Sometimes it doesn't save you anything, and I argue that even then it's better because it gives you control. You can cancel Netflix when you want. You can put Hulu's subscription on pause when you need to.
Right.
But if you're not watching a lot of television anyway, it's probably going to save you some money. I'm curious what you guys watch on YouTube.
Oh, I watch, it depends. Like recently, I did some upgrades on the home theater, and I got a new receiver, and I set it up to support Dolby Atmos with the overhead speakers. And I watched a lot of stuff on YouTube about that, product reviews and how-tos and that kind of thing. And the Twitch show Home Theater Geeks, there's a lot of old ones on there. And it's
Yeah.
cool because you can go back and learn things from maybe a year ago, but you can pick it up whenever you need to. And that's been pretty handy. I use it quite a bit.
Yeah, Scott's great about that too. Like a lot of his knowledge that he imparts, Scott Wilkinson, the host of Home Theater Geeks, is timeless. It's it's about impedance and matching frequencies and stuff like that. That doesn't change. That's just physics.
Right. And so I mean that's really how I use the YouTube stuff quite a bit on there. And Amazon Prime and Netflix is pretty self-explanatory. Tammy uses it to binge watch some shows occasionally.
Ooh,
the
what do you
weather's
watch?
cold.
I want to know.
Oh gosh. I'm going to embarrass myself probably. Family Guy,
Oh,
no, that's
great!
good.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, that's a great show.
classic.
and let's see, some like Ghost Whisperer. For some reason, that's been on my radar.
I've watched a few of those. They're
Right.
pretty good.
Yeah. We watch a lot of MythBusters over and over.
Great show. Yeah.
So and Top Gear.
Yeah. No,
Of
you got
course.
good taste.
Oh, thanks.
The British Top Gear on Netflix is always good.
Well, and Jeremy Clarkson, although he left the BBC Top Gear, is going to do a similar show with his crew for Amazon. I think it's
Yeah.
starting in January. Is that right?
That's what I've heard, I think.
Yeah.
And I've been watching a few of the episodes of The Man in the High Castle, the
Oh, boy.
alternative history
Yeah.
show on Amazon, and that's been pretty good too. And it's totally an independent show that's only on there. I hadn't really watched any of those other ones that were that way. What was the one about the
Transparent?
well, that's one of their independent, or one of their net-only shows.
Mozart in the
House
Jungle
of
is another.
Cards. I never watched that one.
Oh, on
Netflix
Netflix,
is-
House
yeah.
of Cards. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot. You gotta be prepared.
You
for
got
how-
you got a couple
Really?
of seasons to get through too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of how we've been doing our television viewing. And, as far as other technology goes, we've been Windows Phone users,
Hmm.
which It's sort of unusual. I really like the operating system. There is a sort of a deficit when it comes to a lot of different apps, but I really don't use that many apps. I use my phone mainly for taking pictures and making calls and that kind of thing. You know.
Well, again, it's kind of like the cord cutting scenario you were talking about. If the tech does what you need, it doesn't matter whether it's iOS, Android, Windows, or what else. It's about delivering the things you need. And if you're not worried about having that new app Blester or whatever the next thing is going to be called,
now I want that app, an app called Blester.
I don't know what that app does. Then yeah, it doesn't really matter. And then it's more about specs and cost and whether it works with your service.
Right. We do wish that it had better integration with the Google services.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, it does get my mail from my Gmail account and things like that, but it doesn't integrate like with the chat and things like that.
Yeah, and one thing with Gmail I've noticed, if you're not using the Gmail app, a lot of the settings you might set up on the web, say like, for instance, if I get emailed to Daily Tech News Show, I have Gmail set up to notice that and reply with my Daily Tech News Show address so that it's the same address. That doesn't work if you've set it up through your Windows phone for mail. You have to get a Gmail app if you want to do that. Yeah,
I see. Yeah, sure. But I'm pretty cheap when it comes to computers. Most of the machines I use at work are here at home or put together PCs that are all kind of old. Like this machine is 6 years old that we're using.
That's amazing. And is it running Windows or?
Windows 10.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. We use it as a server for play on. I've got a bunch of DVDs that I've ripped to the hard drive, and we can use them through the Roku, and it does great for that. It's just an old AMD machine. And I really haven't any need to upgrade it. But what's interesting was it was a Windows XP machine, and I upgraded it to Windows 8, and it became a lot more effective at streaming the content via play-on. So I don't know. It seems to. It's almost as if that stuff's become more efficient, and it runs better on the old hardware. So.
I've got a 5-year-old Windows machine. It was a Windows 7 machine, I think, when I bought it, and I've kept updating it. And Windows 10 runs great on it. So I think for one thing, machines are lasting longer because we've kind of reached the maximum on processor speed. We're getting close to maximum on RAM in some ways. And like you say, those operating systems are getting more efficient now instead of just getting bigger as they were, in the years from Windows 3.1, Windows 95.
Right. That's true.
Now,
so
Tammy,
are you saying there's an app that will allow me to get rid of all the DVDs in my garage that I've been storing and play them through my Roku? Is that what I took away from this conversation?
Right.
Wow.
I think I've never used Plex. That's a real popular one.
Right.
The one I've got is Play On.
Play On.
And I've just ripped, really they're Tammy's DVDs mostly, but I ripped them to using Make MKV, and they're pretty small on the hard drive. There's probably 200 of them or so on there, real easy, and you can go through and pick them on the Roku box then and stream them across our network.
And as long as you haven't circumvented any copyright protection, you're not breaking any laws.
No, I would never do that, Tom.
No, of course not.
He's talking to me. That's a whole other story.
I was going to ask you, Tammy, because it sounds like you guys are pretty tech savvy, and I think Dave mentioned in the email that you sometimes end up being the tech savvy person in the room when you're out and about.
Sometimes, yeah. And for work, I kind of update the website and do some website development for them, and we'll.
Do you end up being the person everybody asks if their computer breaks down?
Yeah. Yes, in the circle of people I know, I can usually figure out something or find out what the program's doing wrong or what they should be doing, or I can ask Dave.
Or if they're doing something like running the screen in a real low resolution, that kind of thing.
It's always interesting, I think, the levels of the knowledge flow from like the people who are the coders to the people who are the designers and the developers, and everybody's got a little piece of the knowledge, and then there's like this, I would count myself, Tammy, in your same sort of band of knowledge, which is I'm just not afraid of the things. So I'll root around in there and try to figure it out, try to work on it, and try to solve a problem. I can't say I know the answer, but I'm not afraid to find it out, and I know who to turn to get a real answer, which is my boss, Tom.
Well, like when I got my Windows phone, it would not stream, the data wouldn't work. And I read on I don't know how many blogs about what I should do or try to do, and it ended up that I conquered it, like after about, I don't know, months of research.
Yeah.
I got the exact things. AT&T couldn't help me. They would tell me to do something, it still wouldn't work. But after combining a whole ton of different things, I was able to figure it out. It's like, gosh darn.
Did you run around your house like a superhero?
Close.
Yeah, kind of.
And that's
awesome.
the thing, when you work on those problems like that, it's super frustrating, but then you come away with it feeling accomplished once you've fixed it. And the next time you run into a similar problem, it starts to inform, like, wait a minute, this is similar to that other thing I fixed. You fix that one faster, and it just kind of snowballs from there.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think that's one area that I've benefited greatly. We were talking about social media and stuff with the first guest, that I use a lot of online forums through my work. We do engine building, automotive stuff, and racing and that kind of thing. There's a lot of really good online forums and stuff like that where you have questions and answer type situations. Sometimes communication is a little awkward when people are all typing. I know exactly what he was talking about. Sometimes it seems to be kind of gruff. But at the same time, you can learn so much.
Yeah.
You know, it's a good thing. I rely on that quite a bit with work. I really do.
I find myself unable now to write almost a single sentence without a smiling emoji. I think in 100 years, the smiling emoji will actually replace the period.
Yeah, it's the word of the year.
Well, you have to. I understand. I didn't know what emojis were really about all that much, but now I understand, because expressing emotions when you're typing is hard to do.
Yeah,
So
and we all tend to read things in the most gruff manner that they could possibly be intended.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, we do.
So it helps to smooth over those things, you know, because there's a few guys that I know personally that I had met, you know, through online forums, you know, engine high performance type people. And when you meet the real person, they're much different than the person that types on the computer.
Yeah.
And it's always very interesting.
All right, well, I want to bring in our other listener co-host in here to join the conversation. Jeffrey Beard, thank you for your patience and hanging around, and thanks for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm an IT consultant by day and a bit of a consultant by night as well, in many capacities, but also full-time dad. I've got 2 little ones. So obviously technology and being a dad is an interesting combination. Kind of having grown up in the late 80s, early 90s as the internet's coming about and all that stuff, and now having to deal with having children who are born in the internet age and are always connected and all that stuff. And so dealing with all that. And yeah, so that's what I do.
Now, are you the same Jeffrey Beard who sent me this?
Daily Tech News Show is brought to you by me. Oh, thanks, me. If you also
Was that
Yes,
you?
yes, that was me.
That is one of my favorite of the ones, just because of that. Aw, thanks, me. So I'm hoping that you'll because we've changed. We want to direct people to dailytechnewsshow.com/support. I was hoping I could talk you into doing one at some point when you have time. Sounds like you're a busy guy.
Absolutely.
With that URL, that same one would be great, because I adored that. It
makes me laugh every time.
Yeah, every time. Absolutely.
Absolutely. When I find some next time I find some time to lock myself in this little closet, there might be pounding on the door as I'm trying to get in.
That's fine. Yeah. No, I totally understand.
We'll edit that out.
So how did you get into all of this? How did you get into technology?
Well, like most people, or a lot of people who get into tech, it started with my dad, and kind of ran in the family full of geeks. Dad was an electrical engineer and was into computers. We had Amigas and Commodores growing up, and or I did. My sister didn't care for it too much, but so the technology was around me. We were running BNC token ring networks and through the ceiling in our drop ceiling in our basement and all that stuff when
That's
I was
great.
little. So yeah, it's just so we could play our little Star Trek, Star Wars game on the Amiga with the ships flying around and shooting each other. So that was always a good time. But so yeah, it was. I mean, I was kind of
You grew up in a LAN network.
exactly. I was
Or a
connected
LAN, I guess.
almost at birth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know, I don't know if I really had so much of a choice. I guess my sister escaped it. She's more artsy, but yeah. So that's and just kind of being helpful by nature, I guess, kind of landed me in the consulting biz and the IT. I kind of started it in like a help desk capacity, and then just kind of moved on from there and learning new technologies and moving up the chain and like, hey, we can. You can kind of manage a whole customer relationship in addition to being technical. So it's like great. So that's kind of how I ended up in that.
One of the things I noticed when I was doing work at CNET back in the day was I would run into things where the company was moving very slowly on a product because they were running an enterprise solution, which sometimes are great. I'm not slagging enterprise solutions, but every once in a while there'd be something where I'd like, hold on, these guys are this little startup is doing it in a way that can blow away what you're doing.
That's right.
Do you continue to run into that problem where you're trying to get people to catch up with what's happening because things happen so fast?
Yeah, well, there's a huge shift in IT now, especially in the last 5-8 years. Is what they call the consumerization of IT, right? It's people, your customers, your users, your IT users are savvy. They have iPads, they have, they're all connected at home, they have internet connections, they have all the devices, they have the stack. App and device stacks that they like to use. They have Apple Mail, they have all this stuff. They don't want to be VPNing into work just so they can get their email. They want it on their iPhone, they want it on their Mac and all that. So I've been fortunate the last 5 to 10 years to work at a company that was pretty progressive. It was a large company, but they were pretty progressive, and they kind of sold those solutions to classic IT shops and say, hey, our software lets you connect these people to their data, their enterprise data securely and all that stuff. So that's a big trend right now I'm seeing in my most recent capacity as a consultant with smaller companies who really want to bring that consumerization of IT to their user base. So things like Office 365, moving to the cloud, hosted mail, hosted chat, Skype for Business, all that stuff is really hot right now, and customers really want to ditch all that old on-premise infrastructure. I actually had a client of about 50 customers recently say, we're moving to a new space. We don't want any servers. We don't want any switches. We just want wireless network in the office. That's it.
Yeah.
And we, all of us were like, oh my god. So we did talk them into to fortunately having some wired phones here and there, so, VoIP phones, but wired. But that's it. That's where it's going. People don't want to deal with having infrastructure to manage anymore.
Jenny, we have a real live IT consultant here who could explain data centers and the cloud.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you're like still doesn't like? Because sometimes we do the enterprise stories and we don't cover enterprise regularly, but they're big and I kind of, and you've probably heard me do it, where I have to say like, look, this all may sound like gobbledy if you're not in the biz, but it's really exciting.
Yeah, definitely. Just the other day, was it yesterday? You were mentioning the Office 365 announcement with the Skype for Business with built-in VoIP capability for businesses, having that calling capability with Skype for Business.
That reminds me, I have a question. So Skype and Skype for Business are incredibly different entities, right? Because one is doing a direct, like, person-to-person call, and the other one is like distributed in some way that makes podcasting on it ? Terrible. I mean, explain this to me, because I just ran into a brick wall with this, and I'm super curious.
So I'm not extremely familiar with Skype for Business, other than the fact that I know a lot of it runs on the old Microsoft Lync infrastructure. So I believe you're going to kind of have a hybrid on-premise kind of Lync server handling your SIP calls, your VoIP calls, and things like that in your enterprise, but also go out over the Skype network for PSTN, for classic calls, and to other Skype users. So I'm actually not 100% on that. It's relatively recent, and our customers haven't actually asked for that yet. But I'm sure it's coming.
You can bring in a lot more server power with Skype for Business, whereas Skype for consumers is working off the old Supernode model, as far as I understand, even though Microsoft brought the Supernodes into their, I don't know if it's on Azure or not, but into their own server network. So, by the way, I don't want to take too much away from you, Jeffrey, but I noticed Sakani finally was able to get back to the side of the road there. He's showing us a little traffic shot.
Excellent.
There right now. So, so Sakani, if you're still able to hear us, I'm sorry we got cut short earlier, man, but thanks for popping back in.
No problem. I just had to turn my microphone back on real quick, and there's some scenery for your viewing audience there.
Excellent, excellent. We're seeing some traffic out in the east there a bit, the east of California.
A little Palm Springs area 4 o'clock traffic.
Yeah. For in case there's any local listeners out here, this is actually a shot of Bait Palm Drive in Cathedral City, California.
Cool.
From 28 days ago, if you're listening to this out of the podcast feed.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure on the 29th it'll look exactly the same.
Yeah, it might. That's a good point.
Fair enough. I wanted to ask Sakani one question that I didn't get to ask before he had to jump back in the car for his own personal safety. But in terms of Uber, are you finding it a useful way to supplement your income? Because this is what I always ask drivers, and I know it's sort of pushy, but like people have such different takes on it. I'm sort of curious how you find the experience in general.
Well, to be honest, it varies. I have had some days where it has made enough to say, I go on some weeks and say, hey, I made enough to take care of my car payment. And then other weeks where I don't take home enough to cover the cost of a tank of gas. So there are, let me turn this back this way. But yeah, it just varies from day to day. That's the only thing I can say. As the biggest problem with Uber, and the reason why I don't do it full time, is the lack of consistency. And it does not help that, depending on what day of the week or what night or whatever, you may get, say, one night you may be oversaturated with drivers. Another night it may be a special event going on. Another night maybe just nobody's in town. So you never know.
So it's hard to make a consistent living.
Yeah. Especially in most markets, like say, even I'm lucky enough to where I work in mostly Los Angeles. And in some of the larger West Coast, some of the other places like Los Angeles, New York City, Chicago, San Francisco, some of the more established, I guess, markets or more popular markets, there is enough activities where, say, an Uber driver can make a decent bit of extra cash, because you get more than just the people going out to the club every weekend. You have people commuting to and from work. You have people trying to get to and from a grocery store. You just get some more overall and more varied usage, as opposed to, say, out here where I am now in Palm Springs, where, say, unless it's Saturday night at 1 a.m., it's just dead.
I think that's part of the difference between Uber and cabs that isn't discussed as much, one of the reasons of the medallion system for cabs in the past was to say, like, hey, if we have too many cabs out there, none of us can make enough money, whereas a system like Uber or Lyft or any of them say, be as many cars out there as you want. They're not protecting the driver in that way.
No, I mean, basically, and this is going to sound a little counter here, but Uber and Lyft, these things operate like technology companies. They operate the same mindset as technology companies as opposed to from cab companies. Cab companies see themselves as they're providing a service, and our vehicles and our drivers are the tools of their service. Uber and Lyft want to be platforms. Let's say, look, here's an app. You guys use and do whatever you want with it. And so basically, there is no kind of guarantee, no security especially for the drivers, because we are a pain in the Uber's bottom line. They want to see us more of cogs, just like cogs working their technology system, as opposed to say, hey, look, we're doing this for you, and if we're going to do this for you and help you spread to become the global entity you want to be the car replacement, then we're going to need some kind of assurance for that. Because at the point where Uber's going to be saying, hey, look, we want to get you from A to B, and we want to be cheaper than a cab, and just in many cases they're just barely more expensive than just a bus or a trip on a light rail. Okay, so there are going to be drivers. Who's going to take care of the drivers that are providing these rides? And obviously, Uber's answer was, they came out and said their answer was self-driving cars, so we don't have to worry about you anymore. So that is going to be an interesting future.
Yeah, and that's
Uber,
a discussion
yeah.
you see more often all the time.
Yeah, so Uber is, as an Uber driver, the long-term prospects are, what do you say on that?
They're unknown, it sounds like.
Unknown, yeah.
But no, yeah, but as a rider, you know, it's one thing. It's the experience of the driver showing up. That human element is something that I think is in a lot of times in our app generation a bit undesirable. You know, I work in two industries, this one and that one there.
Delivery,
right there. Yeah, two industries where people just say, "Hey, look, I pushed this button on Amazon. I pushed this button on Uber. I pushed this button on Walmart.com, and I have a thing that magically shows up at my door." And part of the benefit of this is that there is not only is it more convenient, but there's less human interaction involved. I don't have to talk to another person to make this happen. I just push the button and it just magically shows up. And I think that the element of the driver, the Uber driver, as a actually human being who's using this personal vehicle is lost on a lot of people. They're just like, no, hey, okay, this thing just magically shows up for me, do what I want, and that's it.
Well, I was taking an Uber drive with Brian Brushwood out to a meetup one time, and we were talking with the driver, and she was saying sometimes it's not that she gets annoyed, but she gets disappointed because people don't want to talk. And she's out there to, part of the reason she wants to drive is that she likes to meet different people and see what's up and have conversations.
I had an Uber driver who like used his Uber driving to further his entrepreneurial business. Like that is now becoming a method of sort of like the getting business leads is drive an Uber, and if you find the right kind of person, talk to them. And like I ended up getting a card for the guy who like runs a furniture sales thing, and I was like, I might use this because you were pretty cool. So that may be the evolution of the purpose of talking. It's like maybe you'll find maybe it's like swipe left and get this driver, and he's got this. I don't know. It was fascinating to me.
I can confirm that. I mean, I have gotten business cards of TV producers, golf course executives, lawyers, doctors across the board. You never know who's going to be getting in their car, and just from the nature of the Uber platform, it's more than likely going to be someone who is fairly affluent. So.
Yeah, relatively speaking, I'm sure. Yeah.
The demographics definitely skew more affluent. I am finding that in some of the larger markets that you will see heavy uses in other areas. For example, some of the people don't talk about is that you see there's a lot of heavy Uber uses even like say like the South LA, the South Bay, Gateway Cities area. Tom, you familiar with that?
Yeah.
And that is actually considered to be by some people the quote unquote the hood. No one wants to go down there. It is an area which is largely underserved by cabs. And sadly, it's actually underserved by Uber drivers too because they are concerned about their own personal safety. So I think Uber wants to tout that it's like, hey, we're serving these lower income, underserved communities that cabs don't go to. And in part that's true, but that comes at a certain risk to the driver, and that's another thing that's really often not addressed.
Right.
Yeah. All right, well, we're going to wrap things up here and let you get back on the road, Sakani. But thank you so much for being a supporter of DTNS, for sending us emails, for taking time out of your busy workday to chat with us. Really appreciate it, man.
Hey, no problem, Tom. I hope to meet up with you on an Uber ride one day. That would be a great honor.
I would love that.
Yeah.
All right, is there anything you want to tell folks before we let you go?
Be kind to delivery drivers. That's all. I know that Christmas is over with, and they have gone through the ringer trying to make sure get you all your Christmas presents and things on time. Just know, you don't have to do anything special. Just a thank you goes a long way. That's all.
That's awesome.
And also, if you want, am I allowed to self-promote a little bit?
Oh yeah,
sure, of course.
Okay. If you just want more reasons of a FedEx, Uber driver, nerd, and an all-around angry person. You can follow me on the Twitter at DJ Sakani. I believe I do say interesting things. DJSEKANI.
Awesome.
And I'll leave that alone and go from there.
All right. Thanks, Sakani. Drive safe, man.
Drive safe.
I will. Been a pleasure. Love you guys.
Love you too.
Bye. Now, Jeffrey, I wanted to get back to you for a second because I know we were jumping around a little bit there. But so tell me, like, what is your day like, and how often do you roll your eyes?
Have you sprained an eye muscle?
Yeah, do sometimes your eyes get stuck up there rolling around at like people's requests or concerns or like, whoa, you know?
You get a really good poker face. My day varies a lot. You know, I'm a small company, and we do IT for. I'm with a small company rather, and we do IT for other small companies. So there could be days like today I was sitting around imaging laptops, getting Windows 7 deployed on 25 laptops, and that's not very glamorous. But there are also days where we're kind of architecting network solutions and we're migrating people to the cloud, to Office 365 and things like that. And there are days when we have really dumb user questions. But they're, you know, like I said, people are getting smart. They really are getting smarter and smarter, and a lot of people can help themselves, you know, given the right tools, you know, as long as you don't have some arcane IT infrastructure. But by and large, the people I deal with are pretty good. You know, then I think it was like Tammy was saying, they usually try to figure it out themselves, and if they don't, when I see that ticket come in or that email come in, you just give it like 5-10 minutes before you reply. just a few minutes, and 9 times out of 10 they'll email you back and say, "Oh, I figured it out. You know, you were busy. I figured it out." So.
I think that the biggest change now is that there's much more of a shared language between the people using the machines and the people who are in charge of actually understanding the very detailed picture of how the machine is working. Whereas when I used to work at CBS News, I worked in the news part of it, but I was the only one who could explain certain like proprietary systems to the cranky old news editors, right? Like I couldn't set up a proprietary news gathering system, and I certainly couldn't work the back end, but I was very good at explaining the language of one to the language of the other. And I think that gap has narrowed tremendously, at least just since the time since we were using, just plain
Lotus
old
Notes.
DOS. Yeah, right. God, even worse. You wouldn't even. Something called News Star. You don't even want to know.
Newstar. Oh yeah, I use Newstar. Oh.
Yeah.
The Newstar server is down. Yeah.
Oh, shocker. That was like, and I think that like that maybe, I don't want to say it makes your job easier because it doesn't, but like at least now there's this closer starting point. At least that's what I found. Maybe you tell me. I don't know.
No, I think you're 100% right. You know, I think the dialogue is halfway there. You know, when people come and talk to you, they already have a frame of reference from their own technology dealings, and really it doesn't take a whole lot to bridge that gap from from understanding why they can't access their mail or something like that. It's usually a pretty simple explanation, and it's not it's not as hard to demystify the technology these days as it used to be. So everybody understands if iTunes is down, they can't get their music. Well, the mail server's down for the Amazon East is having problems. That's why you can't.
They understand what servers are and syncing and things like that, which they didn't.
Right. The baseline is a lot higher for technology understanding, surely. Yep.
Well, Jeffrey, thank you as well for joining us, and thank you again for all the contributions and the pre-rolls. And I know you've sent a few emails in yourself that have been pretty helpful as well. So really appreciate that.
Thanks for having me.
And is there anything you'd like to let people know?
Be kind to your IT person. Be kind to one another.
Yeah.
But especially your IT person.
Yeah, but especially your IT person, because I might respond to that email the second minute rather than the 10th minute after you send it in. No, just kidding. That's be kind to one another.
Anything Twitter-wise or blogs or anything like that?
I do have a blog, a website, jeffreypbeard.com. It's nothing fancy. It's certainly not for monetization. It's just for fun. I write about things like my electric car and when I have a moment, things that I like to deal with. My Twitter handle is jpbeard, but I really don't tweet that much. But if you feel like following me, please do.
So it's JEFFREY, right?
That's right.
pbeard.com.
That's
and
right.
What was the Twitter again?
JPBeard.
JPBeard. Well, thank you again. I really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you.
And Dave and Tammy, before we let you go, now that you've heard of the life of an IT person and an Uber driver, you have any new careers planned?
I don't know, Tom. Probably not, but I see myself in a similar position to Jeffrey in a lot of ways. In our business, we do machine shop work for automotive shops and car dealerships and regular people, and I spend a lot of time on the telephone. People will call with questions, whether they're doing a high-performance build or whatever it is, and their skills range from very experienced to being first-timers, and answering their questions and giving them as good of information as I can is very important, and it's a big part of our business. It doesn't really make me money directly, but it can sometimes make somebody be a customer for a long time.
Yeah, it's hard to track those things, right? You can't point to the accountant and say, I was nice to that guy and it made me this much money. But it has an effect. I agree. It's
sort of like the value for value model in a little bit of a sense. If people feel that you're giving them their money's worth, they're going to come back.
Yeah, hopefully.
And that's something I was going to ask you about, too, on your chosen profession. Is that model becoming the way of the future for podcasting and internet webcasting?
That's
sure
a really
hope
good...
so.
I mean, John C. Dvorak likes that approach.
And John and Adam are two of the people who pioneered it. So, big thanks to them for testing it out. I think it can work. It's certainly working right now for us. Right. I don't know what the conditions for it to work are. Because it wasn't something that I designed, like, this is how I'm going to approach. It's just something, I used to compare it to jazz. Like, we just kind of played as we went along what seemed to work from moment to moment. So yeah, I mean, I think there's something to it for sure. It just has to be the right mindset. It is not the kind of thing that's going to show $1 million revenue in the first year, which is what any startup shareholder, et cetera, is going to want to see. So it depends on what's important to you and what you want to achieve. But I think it's a viable model for some people.
Because it's not like you can go off of relative scarcity. You've got essentially an infinite number of copies of everything you do.
Yeah.
So that makes it an interesting. That adds a challenge to it.
Well, it becomes about personal connection. And like I would say that just having come into this only 2 years ago now, almost 2 solid years ago, you've got Tom has a 10-year or more personal connection to his audience, and that may be right now what it takes to have a successfully crowdfunded thing. Is instead of just this like, I purchase this and you give me this, it's now actually about what Sakani was talking about, which is sort of like a shared connection or an empathy for what people are trying to achieve.
And patience for a slow build.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Dave and Tammy, thank you both so much for joining us and for being involved in the show and taking time out of your day to chat with us. Do either or both of you have anything you'd like to say to folks?
Well, I just want to say that I really enjoy your show, and I'm really glad that you found this outlet to be able to share with us every day.
Well, thanks, Tammy. I appreciate that.
We were really disappointed when you weren't on the Tech News Today anymore. And we thought, we're not going to see Tom Merritt anymore. But then we discovered your new product.
I decided not to hide, so I'm glad you found me.
Well, thanks, Tom. I appreciate it.
And I don't know if you have any blogs or Twitter accounts, or if you want to put your business out there, whatever you want to tell people.
Well, I need to get a new website going for our business, McLeansAutomotive.com. It's ancient, and I need to redo it in a bad way. But
we got folks in the audience might help you out with that.
That's true. They know a lot more about that than I do. But
and that's spelled McLain.
Yes.
McLeansAutomotive.com.
All
right. Great.
See
well,
how
thank
much
you.
Work I need to do. Did it work?
Yeah, I'm clicking it up now just to make sure. Oh, no, I must have spelled it wrong. How do you spell it? McLains automotive.com?
Yeah, it should be.
McLain.
Or maybe it's down.
It could be down.
Well, we'll try to figure that out and put it in the show notes for people. But thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you, John.
Jenny Josephson, we've got a few more shows before the end of the year here.
Yes.
But any words from you before we steam on into predictions results and all of that stuff?
Well, the word of the day is how much I enjoy talking to people in our audience. We were lucky enough sometimes to talk to the people in the chat room, and we've brought some people from our chat room onto our show as guests. But this is one of my favorite shows of the year because, hey, I'm a tech. I'm like conversational in tech, but I'm not fluent or anything. And yet I've spent the last 2 years, I think the way a newsy girl would say it, is covering a beat. And so I'm always amazed at just how much our audience knows about technology at just like this granular level. And I was thinking, like, how could we take advantage of that more than just, getting to talk to 3 or 4 awesome people one time a year? And so we have some thoughts about that. I don't know how many more thoughts we're sharing on this cast, but we have some thoughts.
It's hard for us to tell from where we sit just how we're doing on getting the 6th day of Daily Tech News Show with Peter Wells done, but we have some thoughts for what we might do if we meet that milestone goal. I think that's what Jenny's kind of alluding to there.
Something for the normals.
Maybe a 7th day? Maybe. Anyway, you can get us there. DailyTechNewsShow.com/support is the way you can help keep this show alive. It's, as Dave was saying, it's value for value. If you get value out of these shows and you've got a little value to spare back, maybe $1 or so, DailyTechNewsShow.com/support has links to our Patreon, to our PayPal, and to our store, even a Bitcoin donation if that's your thing. So help us out if you can. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can give us a call, 512-59-DAILY. That's 512-593-2459. Catch the show live starting January 3rd again, Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. And visit our website, dailytechnewsshow.com. Tomorrow, it's the Predictions Results Show. Justin, Patrick, and I will see how we measure up against our flights of future fancy from last year.
Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Great show, everybody.